Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Studio Insights. We've got the whole team here. We've got Kim, Victoria, and myself, Hannah. Super excited to get into the episode, share with each other what we've been learning, ask each other questions, and take our skills to the next level. Before getting into the episode, if you're watching this, it's likely you're a learning designer and you should check out our Creator Hub because there are so many resources on there for people just like you. There's freebies, there's paid templates, there's courses. So go out and check it out and see what might add value to you. Very popular. It's epic.
On that, can I just give a little shout out actually?
Yeah.
To James Gilchrist, guitar hero, I'm going to call you, James, because I know you listen to the podcast, but he gave us a really nice shout out the other day, and he said, and it resonates with what you've just said. It's like, if you do anything in the learning content creation space, you should be following and checking out Belvista Studios' posts wherever you find them. So not just us saying it's brilliant, but thank you, James, and thanks for the love. Appreciate that you choose to learn with us.
Love it. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's get into the episode. Victoria, you can ask the first question.
Right. My question is for both of you guys. As always, it's like a sort of a two-parter, poorly constructed. But the first part is, what do you both think makes someone a good project manager? And as part of that, what do you think that I can do as a project manager to be better for you?
I think for me, I feel like you're never wondering what's going on with the project is the first thing that comes to mind, because you're the one that has the overarching control and perspective of everything. So, and I only come in, my role might come in for a bit of ID or this role in facilitation, or sometimes I'm part of these meetings and then I go off and I'm doing different things. But if I'm never left with, where it comes to my role in the project, questioning anything, wondering, where is this at? What am I supposed to be doing? Then I think you're doing your job very, very effectively. Mm-hmm. So all of the things within that. You have some, Hannah?
Yeah, mine's similar. For me, because I'm doing tasks within the project, it's really nice, like what Kim was saying, to have access to things. So having my calendar invites reflect what I actually need to be using for tasks and not wondering whether there's something else I haven't thought about or something out in the world that I should be considering and I'm not. So I think task invites are really important. I think as well, it sounds obvious, but just planning the tasks, scheduling them well. So not saying you've got 8 hours to do this task and I have literally no buffer time in the day. I'm under pressure and feel like I'm not doing my best work. So I think just having things planned out properly with that buffer time, so I can relax and do things and not rush.
I'm here to relax, you're here to work.
That's all I can think of right now. Do you have anything else, Kim?
I think they're things that you do, Vic, but I would like you to maintain them, and I think they are what a good project manager does, is when it's due and who it's going to, the expected output of the task, the deliverable. And I think access to our plan, the project management plan, allows me to then go see if I need to look at future tasks, when might this be coming back, or I can see it actually in my calendar anyway. It's the task is coming back from the client on this date. And then, so I think access to information, because we all have access to the whole project schedule, even though only certain tasks appear in each of our calendars as an individual contributor to the whole project. But I think access to it is good. And then the duration of the tasks. I think you have to allow check-in time as well, like outside of the task. I think it's kind of like buffer time maybe, that allows us as team members to come to you and ask clarification questions or seek something. But even maybe just like almost a general well-being check as well, like around, like we do this with the client every week. We've got the 1 hour weekly catch up where it's like, I love that everything non-urgent is held till then, but it's going to be achieved by, like, we have it for our tasks that we're doing in the week. And I'm wondering, like, that I find that very valuable because it's access to the right people all at once where we can get what we need, and there's not as much back and forth, because especially where we're at in the project at the moment, it is using a lot of brain, I'd say. I know for me it is, and probably for Hannah as well, where you don't want the interruptions of like, shit, I need that thing or the answer to that thing. I've got to interrupt someone, wait for it to come back, and you're back in flow. So it's better to know I'm going to have access to that person at this time, and I can hold that question until then, and then just continue on with my flow so it doesn't stop the process. So I think that kind of general check-in, and also like if you check in with us, I think that's useful, like creating opportunity to say, hey, like, don't forget you've got time with the SME available, like you don't have to use it. But I think, because that could be something that I might forget if it's not in my task. But for me, knowing that that is available, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I don't have to do this alone. Like I have access. Or like we had time yesterday as a team to like be able to call on each other for support, just to bounce ideas around. So kind of enabling those opportunities within the flexibility of capacity that we have outside of the task. So I'm not having to go, I've got 7 hours for this task. And yeah, I don't, like Hannah said, I don't have buffer time to seek help. And also you guys are at max capacity on the same day. So then I'd be taking from your task. So where possible, maybe creating opportunity for that collaboration to have that's probably not planned in the project itself, but maybe just like a quick check-in or something.
More for me, or did you want to continue on that, Vic? Or you just...
No, I'm just agreeing.
The other thing was, I noticed that you did really well was like future planning. So thinking about what's happening next week and making sure that everyone has what they need and everything's like flowing smoothly. So I noticed you put in a task. So I had a task on Monday and you put in a task before that you knew would help me to do what I needed to do on Monday. And it wasn't like planned as part of the project, but it's something that came up in conversation. So it was nice for me not to like start my task and then be like, there's this other thing that we have to do before this and now I don't have time. Like you scheduled it just before I started. So I think that was like really good, like thinking about the future, what I might need and making sure it happened. That was really, really helpful. What else? I think also just like your attitude about things.
Keep going, your attitude.
Like you're very open to like listening to what like experience I'm having with my tasks, and like what Kim was saying before, the checking in thing, like you were talking about something, I think I was mentioning something today about my task and you're like, oh, don't forget you have extra time on Monday, like if you need to do something and stop that task, you've got the extra time. So just like taking the time to support people and like tell them what the possibilities are so they don't like panic and not know what to do. So I think that's really good as well.
Yeah, because that lens is really valuable. Like that's the value of a project manager, is like, especially where the roles are at the moment, is like Hannah and I are very task orientated. And I don't really know what Hannah's up to. She doesn't know what I'm up to. At some point we will come together, but we're very individual at the moment and we're achieving our deliverables. But you're kind of floating around on top of us. And I'm saying something to you and you're going, oh, that's important for Hannah to consider. Or Hannah said something about that yesterday. It's, you might, like, this is the decision we made. It probably would help you as well. So you're coming in at that lens where we don't have that that information, or we're not even in that mindset because we're very task orientated. So I do appreciate that kind of wide, high level perspective because we can't remember everything, or we're not looking at it in that point in time to see everything.
Yeah. I feel like I do still struggle with that part of it a little bit. Like if I hear something in a meeting, or if someone emails something, is like making the connections to think like, who's that going to impact? When do they need to know by? Like that, I think I still struggle with that a little bit, to know like, first of all, is that even important to like tell someone? And if so, who do I need to tell? When do I need to tell them? I think I find that a bit hard sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot of bits of information. I would say that it's the one action that you should probably commit to is like, when I'm given a piece of information, just say or find out the answer to, is this required to be actioned by anyone between now and, because we always do check-ins on Wednesday, right? So midweek. Is this required for anyone between now and Friday? Oh no, actually for you, it should be now and close of business Monday. Because on Tuesday is when you go through everything and refresh your cycle of like, where's everything at? So if it is required, then you've got to do it as a post-meeting action. But if not, you just put it into your kind of to-do list for that Tuesday task and say, review and find the appropriate time for this task.
Yeah, I actually think that has been like my process, because I have like that list of to do. It's a list of questions for you for our Tuesday meeting, and it's a list of to do things. And I think at the moment there's like 8 or 9 things on there, and some of them are red because they're like, I need to keep checking back in to see if it's like, when I've got time, like they need to be done, but there's no specific like deadline. And then there's other things that are like just at some stage in the whole project. Whereas I guess some of the meeting stuff, usually like if something comes up in the meeting that's got to be actioned, that doesn't normally end up on that list, because I usually have like a stricter deadline for it. And it will go in the update, or I'll tell you guys do something with this.
That's good.
Yeah, I think I have the right process, but I think it's more like if the client might say something in a meeting and I'm like, I don't know, it like, I don't want to say it goes over my head, but I'm like, I don't know. It could just be like a passing comment, and I'm like, I don't think that means anything. But then after the meeting, Kim, you might say, we need to do this with that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think that was a thing. Like I thought that I knew that, or like, that kind of stuff.
That,
if I'm not super familiar with,
no, because like there's so much, everything in the world, how are you meant to know the answers to anything? Like you can only do a bit. So I'm always of the perspective of like, someone said something for a reason. Why have they said it? And if I'm not clear, I just say, oh, can you help me understand why that is relevant? Because they brought it up for a reason. And even if they say it as like a fleeting thought, it means that it's in their head. So even though you're not expected to know what that fleeting thought is meant to be, or whatever it is, you need to help them think and articulate why they express that out loud. So when I like would say that to a client, I'll say, oh, can you help me understand why that's relevant right now? They might just say, oh, actually, that's a note for myself to follow up on. And then you don't need to do anything. It's just they were talking out loud. But yeah, I think everyone says something for a reason. So seek to understand why that might be relevant right now by asking the question.
Okay. Well, I think I know I say a lot of things for no reason.
No, we ignore you, so just ignore that. Like,
you just never know. It could be vital information, or it could be rubbish.
Well, I'm thinking, do you know what's coming to mind actually is, you know, when someone makes a joke comment around like, Hannah's laughing,
Around what?
I don't know if I'm gonna make I can't think of a real example right now, but I don't know, if you're in like just a conversation and someone says something like, oh, you never like blah 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 anyway, and then laughs it off, there's something in that. Now you don't know what it is, but there is some reason that someone has made that remark or made that joke out loud. It's an expression of something within them. You like
about that. I don't know if I agree with that.
Maybe not.
Sometimes I make jokes. I'm like, I just pulled that out of.
But you're not funny, so that just completely just defeats the purpose. No,
But I know people say like there's always like if people make a joke, there's always like some element of truth or whatever behind it. Like I don't always agree with that, because some of my jokes I'm like, I just thought it was funny.
No, I think it's when it's a joke, but when it's a joke, a haha, like knock knock, who's there? That's different from
I don't tell
a funny comment. A funny comment in response to something else.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying, because I can see how there's like a hidden meaning, but sometimes I'll say something that I think is funny. You guys don't think I'm funny, but it'll be like so opposite from the truth that I say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know? So, but that is a sign that it's so obviously opposite of what I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like if someone works really hard and I'm like, you're so lazy, mate. Like I'm saying, you're not lazy. Like I find that hilarious, saying the opposite.
Yeah. That's what I think too. I think it's like if you're having a dig at someone as a joke, I think there's like, it's one of two. It's either what you said, Kim, or it's like there's an element of like
truth in it.
You actually don't like something about that person, or it's like that person is like, that dig is like
so obviously not
relevant, to that person at all. But that's why it's funny. Or maybe Hannah and I just aren't funny. I don't know. We shouldn't make jokes at other people's expense anyway.
But maybe you could be taking what we say as saying something's the opposite for real if you don't think that. So that's like a miscommunication thing as well.
Definitely. I know, yeah. Sometimes you make jokes, Hannah, and I'm doing like fucking inverted commas and they stress me the fuck out because I'm like, oh my God, does she really think that? And then I get really confused.
That does happen, but I say the opposite because I know it's the opposite.
Well, thanks for clarifying now. I'll just like, oh, she's just saying the opposite, and then I'll have to like compute what that means.
It's sarcasm.
I've just stopped ignoring. I've started ignoring it. It's how I choose to respond to you is what I'm working on. And I just don't find you funny. It's like when I stop to think about it, that's the truth of it. I'm just like, she is not funny in any situation that I have experienced so far. So I'll stop being concerned about it. No, anyways. But I think
roasted.
Think to understand when it comes to team related work conversations and those with stakeholders.
Very good.
Probably saying something for a reason, and you might be able to help them articulate it.
And they might even say, I'm being sarcastic and saying the opposite of what's real. You know?
Really
turn Hannah into a robot.
But if you ask me that, I'd probably come back with another sarcastic comment.
Oh, funny.
Sarcasm gets people into trouble.
Not in our team.
I've stopped being sarcastic now. The other thing that's going to mind, if we're still on Vic's question, is, and how funny you guys are not. No, jokes. I really appreciate knowing something, like closing the loop. Like that task is complete, no further action required. Like when I see that, wow, I can just be like, see ya. You're like, so that closing the loop is on a task, on a conversation, on an action, whatever it is. I feel like that's very important. And I feel like that particularly in that document, how we're turning things green, orange, red, I find that very helpful for me to be able to just go in and find that information
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, agreed.
And then I think closing the loop as well, another good thing that you do. It's all about fucking blowing Vic's head up massively.
I was just here for compliments, really.
Yeah, I know. Is
No,
the
I thought that-
project update is
more
so like that detailed that it's just like the go-to place to know what's happened in the last week, what's happening in the week coming forward. And I do think that's a really good close the loop thing.
Yeah.
And accountability kind of crack the whip tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never read it. No jokes. I'm only messing. I was being sarcastic, or was I being the opposite of sarcasm? Who will know?
Thank you. I think we can wrap that up now. Unless anyone else wants to add anything.
You're a great project manager, Vic. That's all I'd like to say.
Yeah, are we satisfied with her so far? I think if you do the things that we said, I'd be at peace. I could retire from the project management role. Like,
I would not be at peace.
All right.
Thank you.
you are most welcome.
You can ask the next question, Kim.
Okay, my question is, how might we start a movement that is led from the ground up? So not led by government, not led by leadership, but by the humans on the ground. How might we? Just looking for ideas, please.
By speaking to them about their experience. By letting them design it.
Who's the them? Like anyone in the world?
The ground, sorry.
What?
The ground level.
The ground.
You know how Kim says the ground up?
Yeah.
Humans of the world that are not in positions of power. Can I get more specific to a social movement? So not just any movement.
Mm-hmm.
What's the word? Get lots of people involved. Like get masses involved.
How?
By helping them see the why first and recruiting them. Getting them to like see the value before getting them to do anything differently.
Mm.
Recruiting people that have been impacted by the thing that you're trying to get across.
I don't know. I'm not having any thoughts.
That's all right. Keep going, honey. I'm appreciating what you're sharing. I can't stop thinking of everything being sarcastic now, so that's why I'm smiling. I'm like, is it? Is it not?
Well, giving them a voice. I don't know if that's obvious. Giving them
How would you do that?
Give them a microphone. Get them to speak somewhere. Once they've got that drive, whether it's like an emotion that's driving them to tell a story or something, let them speak. Making a slogan or something that they all use that connects them all together. having a like champion or someone who's like the leader of that level of people. That's one of them, but leads the group. No protest. Connecting with them with people who can actually like make the change at a higher level. And helping like that high level understand why it's important. Providing them with funding so they can actually do it and do what they need to do with a like a budget. It's like, it doesn't sound nice, but it's like forcing them to do the thing that results in the social change because like they have to do it to either like, I don't know, keep their job. Like it's part of their, make it part of their day-to-day life and something that they have to do. So it just becomes like the norm. Raising with them how not making the social change could impact them and people close to them. All I've really got, I think. I feel like when I think back to when social changes happened, it's like someone within that group becomes the leader and they give like a really, present like a really, a speech that makes everyone go, oh my gosh, this has to happen now. This has to change. And I think it's the way the speech is written, the way they deliver it, and it often connects to something personal to them. So other people like relate to it.
Mm.
And I think they're often not afraid of like society's expectations because they're trying to do something different. So they don't ever show like fear of trying to fit in. They just go all in on whatever they're wanting to change. It's like they act like they don't care what other people think. They're just like they have a message and they want to get it out. And they'll stand up to people who like turn it down or tell them they're wrong for doing it. Like they'll vocally stand up to that. They'd also potentially promise people higher up what it can give them. Do something attention grabbing, something that you wouldn't expect they'd do. Like I know there's been buildings set on fire and graffiti and big like street parades and things that weren't expected, something like that, that really gets people's attention. They connect themselves with people who have influence in society. So whether it's like speaking on a radio thing, speaking to the Prime Minister and getting him to speak on it, like that, sort of, they're connecting with the right people. Yeah, I'm just thinking of examples like I think it's Grace Haynes who did the spoke up for like sexual abuse and victims being able to speak out, and what she did. And her whole thing was like, let her speak, because she wasn't allowed to speak as a victim. And that was like her slogan. And then she was finally able to speak, and she delivered like a really, like, she was angry in her speech. There was so much emotion, and like, I think that was really impactful. I'm just trying to think, there was like a movie where the world was ending and the scientists knew that a meteorite was about to hit the Earth, and no one believed them. And the whole movie was them trying to convince everyone. So I'm just trying to think of what tactics they used in that movie. Did either of you see that? I think it had Leonardo DiCaprio in it.
Yeah, and Jonah Hill and stuff.
Like, I remember them being on news shows and no one was taking them seriously, and they're trying so hard to get the message across. I'm just wondering if there's anything from that actually worked. Statistics. I remember they were telling people like, this is it. It's like a 1 in 1,000 chance it's not going to happen, or whatever. Like, using that to help people understand. Getting them to experience the impact. So I think at the end, when like the meteorite was on its way and it was all too late, that's when people were like, okay, we get it now. Like, what do we need to do? And they're like stressing, trying to like come up with a plan when it was too late. So it's like that sense of urgency, or something is about to go terribly wrong, so you have no other choice. Trying to think of The Big Short. You know how someone was trying to convince that there was going to be a financial crisis, but no one believed them? The next one I'm thinking of, if there was anything in that. I think we can learn a lot from movies, basically, and TV, because a lot of the time it's a main character trying to convince others of something throughout the narrative.
I feel like with that, it makes me think, if you're trying to get like your message across, not being like super biased with it, because I feel like there's always like conspiracy theorists and stuff, and usually if you've come up with some like new movement or new idea, like there's going to be a lot of people who are like, that's ridiculous, sort of thing. And if you are just like too intense on that one thing, then people just won't listen to you regardless, because it's like might seem out there or crazy. You need to have some sense of like, you understand why people think the way they do, but there's like this other way of thinking as well.
Yes. What I get from that, and a bit of what Hannah was saying at the end there, is that you need to see yourself in the leader, the cause, or the people involved, and also the solution needs to seem so obvious that you wouldn't not do it. Because I think of The Big Short, it's like, that would never happen. Like, that's ridiculous. We have trust there. And it's like, that's why no one reacted. And a lot of times it is like, it's not in your face, like you say. So we have to present it so easy that it's just like, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah.
Yes, I just thought of something else. So I listened to a podcast called Scamfluencers.
Okay.
It was this guy who scammed people. It was a Ponzi scheme, and he scammed people like $200 million was how much the whole scheme was. And it was just like, it was the way he presented it to them, where he said, like if you invest in this, you like there is no way that you will lose. Like it's 100% going to work. He showed evidence of how other people had made the money, and he paid them at the beginning, so they had some bit of evidence and trust that he would be paying them back each time. But as it continued and people kept investing, they didn't get anything future that they invested with him back. So it's almost like give them a little bit of evidence, get them to trust you, act calm and in control of what you're selling, and you'll hook people in before they realize that it's a scam. Not that
Belvista Studios is changing direction. That's actually what we're trying to do here. No.
like, how did it happen in Hairspray, Vic? You know how they were trying to get like dark people and white people to dance together?
Mm.
How did that end up happening in the end? Who convinced who? They just did it, right? They just started doing it, even when they were told not to. Like, I'm wondering anything of that.
Yeah, I think so. In the movie, that is what happened.
Yeah. In the movie I'm referring to. Yeah. And they got like on that show where everyone was watching and just did it. Even when like the backstage was screaming at them not to. They're like, we're doing it. Bit of force.
I guess that's another thing that like it shouldn't have been necessary in that particular situation, but like giving people time to adjust if it's some new out there, not relevant to Hairspray obviously at all. But yeah, like if you just go and do something suddenly, like not everyone's going to be accepting of that.
Yeah, like ease them into it.
Yeah. And then it won't necessarily be seen as such like a big, like some big traumatic change that they don't want to do.
Seems like I've done that to you too.
No, I was thinking of like what happened in World War II with like things that were taken away from the Jews. It was like not one day it was like you can't go to the supermarket and they're like, oh, not too bad. And then it's like you can't go to the supermarket and this thing, and you can't go to the supermarket and this thing the next week. So over time it wasn't like everything's taken away from you and now go into this place, jail, whatever. It was like it was eased on them, and they were like, it was too late before we realized.
Yeah.
Based on documentaries I have watched.
Yeah.
The stories I've heard.
I don't have anything else unless something Hannah says triggers it for me.
I can see her like still thinking a little bit.
Yeah.
So I just want to leave maybe like one more minute, and thanks to the people listening. But I think that it shows the space of creating the space. So it's important to create the space for this, to get the ideas, and you can see what happens. So thanks for the sitting with the silence for a bit. This is important.
Yeah, only other thing I can think of is bombard them with it until it becomes the norm. Because I know for me, it takes me a lot of times, many times, to see something for it to be like, oh yeah, I agree with that, or like,
yeah,
sort of thing. But if it's like Victoria said, it's the first time and it's new and it's a bit like, oh, I don't know, and over time it's easier.
Yeah.
That's funny though, because when you said that, I was just thinking, don't go overboard with stuff.
Oh.
Like, I feel like if some, I don't know, say there's some movement, there's posts about it all over social media, it's on the news, like all that. I think it can end up having like a negative, people associated it like with something negative, even though they might not even like fully understand what it's about yet, but just like right off the bat, if they do something like crazy or if it's too full on, that can put people off like joining, even
Maybe
though
we're not getting anyone to join anything, don't you worry. I see what you mean. It's like in the communication, it's like it's not bombarding in a kind of repulsive, invasive way. You can bombard in a way that it's the way the story is told or the message is told, and it's existing everywhere, but it's not like, in a derogatory, like, get out of my eyesight right now. Okay, all right, I'll put a pause on that. Thank you so much. That was freaking awesome, Hannah. Like, well done to you, bloody hell, with what you came up with there. It was like very freaking useful for me, which I'll explain in a second. Just for the people listening, I think that's just one thing to remember, like, is to sit in silence, because Hannah said at one point, I think that's all I got. And then we like sat in silence, and then she went on and probably got more in the second half post saying that. So do create the space for people to give that processing time, because I wouldn't have all these ideas. Okay. Can you remember them, Hannah, or I will read them back very quickly?
Yeah, read them back. I can't remember.
Okay. No, that's all right. Okay. So first of all, why I wanted to know this is because I believe the project that we're working on at the moment is actually a movement, or has the potential to be a movement. And what I've looked at is it will directly impact over 70,000 lives. So 70,000 lives directly will touch the project that we're working on in some way. That doesn't include the people that are like connected to them, like a person that they live with at home or anything like that, right? So I kind of am thinking, well, there's a lot of responsibility with this project, and it has a very positive impact on the world. So then I was thinking maybe we should figure out some tactics that we could help leverage to figure out that this is a change in behavior that will happen over time. It's got 2 years to roll out. So it kind of does sort of feel like it is a movement if we get it right, and it would be a positive one. So to directly impact over 70,000 lives, for us as the instructional designers, this is some of the tactics we need to be thinking about in the work that we're doing, okay? So we need to recruit people who have been impacted, and everyone can kind of figure out where it might go. Like that might be like sharing their stories, or maybe they're the champions or whatever, but this is just the essence of it. So recruiting people who may have been impacted, build awareness to the masses by exposing them to other thinking, maybe have a slogan to connect them. There needs to be connection within the movement to other people. Potentially there's a leader that's one of them. It needs to make noise, for example, a protest. You need to make people think. You need to connect with people who can make change on their behalf. The resources to do it, so time and money, etc. You need to make the new way a habit for people, potentially by forcing them at the beginning. Demonstrate how not making the change could impact them and those close to them. Have speeches, so like look at kind of Martin Luther King and all those sorts of speeches for like the structure and how to then we use our communication. Don't be afraid of society. They're convicted to the cause, so they're not afraid of society, they're convicted to the cause 100%, and they express themselves true to the belief regardless of the reaction. Connect with those who have an impact on society, so like people of influence, like a radio presenter presents stats. You need to be able to see yourself in the leader, the cause, the people involved. It needs to be in your face to get it. Like, as in, it's not happening over there. Sorry, that's what I mean, like that. It's not happening in America. It's happening in Queensland, Australia, which is where our solution is targeting, the area that we live in. The solution needs to seem so obvious, like it's 100% guaranteed to work. It's one step to get this result. And you need to give evidence of the results early so they have a sense of achievement and continue with you in the movement. When you're surrounded by it, it becomes your norm, and you need to give them time to adjust, so ease them into it.
Really good.
That's cool. Thank you very much for your contribution to that. I'll be taking that to my ID stuff this afternoon.
Yay! How good.
And for the future rest of the project, that's where I was at with this particular task, but I think there's lots of potential for the rest of it that we haven't even started yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you for giving me the time for that. I appreciate it. All
good. All right. So my question, I'm just going to think it through how to ask it. So I'm wanting some inspiration from both of you on how I can treat content for a course.
Yeah.
The first thing is, how might we train people on how to fill out a form correctly? Including like writing responses in an effective way.
I think if there's a way to show example responses on the form, or even like prompts to start with.
Yeah, that's a good one. Like a little drop down, and it has the prompts, like which one of these is it? I think it just needs to be model answers for me. Like the form is filled out for this situation, and here's it done where it's going to get the I don't know, the response or the next like approval or whatever the outcome is that needs to be done. But it's like situation one, and then because I think there's a lot of gray areas, so it needs to be situation one, and there's potentially 3 gray areas, and they are sample model answers. I don't think it's about helping people type it out or whatever. It's them going, that's my situation, and I can see there that I just need to kind of copy it, and a little prompt then that says, is a reflective question maybe beyond that, where it's like the model answer is there and I've used that and I've done it to the best of my ability using that, and now it's like, I don't know, part A of the form gives them like a reflective question that says, are there any other assumptions that might be being made here? Or sorry, have you checked, actually maybe it's something like this, have you checked that what you've written is based on fact, not emotion? If you read this, what questions would you have before being able to approve it or get the outcome? If you received this form, would you have everything you need to do the next step? So I think it needs to almost have those prompts, like a checklist to go, you've done it. And then very clearly, because we know that these forms are vital and have to be completed, but they're not getting completed, is saying on the form, if it is not completed to this standard and you feel like, if you notice that there's too much emotion, not enough fact, there's too much unknowns, that this form will come back, and the thing that you are trying to prevent from happening will actually not be prevented. The timeline is likely to be pushed out by, I don't know, 2 weeks. And within that 2 weeks, this bad thing is likely to happen, the concern that you're reporting in the first place. So show them the consequences of not completing the form.
Yeah.
Forms are sent back for, sorry, I'm on a fucking rant now.
Amazing.
Forms are sent back for this reason, for these reasons. The form is not approved for these reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
Take a breath.
And the form cannot be taken seriously too, meaning that what they're trying to express doesn't get dealt with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think it would be effective for learners to practice actually completing one with sample situations?
No, not in the compliant. Oh, not in the compliance part of this training.
Okay. It's just like a in the moment resource that helps.
I think it's a just in time thing. There is opportunity for me to build on that in a workshop, like a face-to-face part that is the capability thing. And it's like, hey, this session that happens 3 months after you've done your compliance part of the training, we're going to look at those things and do something with it then.
Yeah.
So that would be something where, yeah, you need to like let me know to do that. Say, hey, Kim, I've identified these things. There's not this is how I'm building capability or not building capability. Maybe you are, and you're like, this is what I'm doing, but here's some other things that are important, but I'm not building capability. It's just information providing. Send it to me because it might fall under my part of the ID role.
Okay. So not when I hand over the storyboard, right now.
Or as you're going, you probably are going to build a list. Yeah, not right now.
Yeah, that's a good way to think. Like there is, like you're doing instructional design for this project as well, and you have a lot more opportunity for face-to-face. So if I think something is better suited for that format, it's better to let you do that and not double up.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, thank you very much.
On that one, I was just going to say though, it's not about completing the form. It's the context of and the content of what they need to complete in a form is too challenging until you have a situation in front of you. It's not relatable, therefore they're not going to remember it. That's why just in time supports them. So you can say these exist, and then what you could do is the thing that we know is a performance issue right now is people do not complete the forms properly at the moment. And then they get rejected.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's very bad if they get rejected. The potential for the outcome, if it's rejected, is really bad. And it seems like it's a very high percentage that they're getting rejected at.
Yeah.
So the key behavior that you need to train in the compliance side of it is that thing around complete it properly because it gets rejected. So what you want to help them understand is what might get rejected. So you could then have a comparison. Out of these 3 sections of the form, which one do you think is likely to get rejected? Out of these 3 parts of the next part of the form. So you get them to figure out what's a good one and what's a bad one.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah, awesome.
Because when they see like, oh, one could be filled out beautifully, really detailed, but they've missed ticking a box, and that's why it gets rejected. So even just the fact, like they could be the exact same response actually, maybe even the same handwriting or something like that, and the only difference is the tick the box, and it gets rejected because of that.
Yeah.
It's like the feedback then is you must fill out all components of the form or it will be rejected.
Yeah. Yeah, good one. Thank you very much. That was amazing.
Good.
Okay, I've got one more question. Is that everything for that?
Yeah, that's come up for me. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, thank you. All right, so the next one is, how might we, if there are frequently asked questions about a certain topic, what's the best way to present them to the learner or have them like accessed by the learner?
Downloadable FAQs. Sorry, you go, Vic. Actually,
I was going to say, I think it depends on like what kind of role they're in, because it's whatever's going to be like quickest and easiest for them. Like for me, I would have like it bookmarked on my browser or something, because I'd like move around a lot, but someone might have a desk, so then it would be like something you can print off and stick on your wall. Or...
Yeah.
Whatever is like the quickest and most
Yeah.
easily accessible.
Yeah.
Yep. Where does it sit? Like, is it on the intranet? Is it on the public website? I don't know. But yeah, making sure they're very clear on where it is. Encourage them to download it so they have it on them all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe there's the opportunity for like a little help bot that you can say, I have this question, what do I do? And then it's like, this resource might be useful.
Yeah.
But actually, I don't know, help bot. It's just because now what's happening for me is like, I'm like, you just need to know how to search for the information, which essentially all intranets have a search bar, or a website has a search bar. So maybe what we need to help them to understand is FAQs are here. If you type in this kind of phrase, that's how you get the information. Because I know one of the challenges that we're kind of overcoming as part of this is that it's very hard to navigate the information at the moment. So potentially your FAQs are all written from the perspective of like, what if, or how do I, or can I, or something like that, where it's first person. And so the behavior you train is if you search as if you're asking a question and think about the keywords or something, just put the keywords in there, and it's likely to bring up the FAQs that have the answer. It's likely to find the spot in the 500-page process document that has the answer, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
But also, I guess that's where the chatbot type of value does come in, because I think that's where the cleverness is in, because I don't know if we can train everyone to type a good search. So maybe what we do need to do is invest in like, the problem we're trying to solve is get the information to them, but they don't know how to search. But could the technology be the kind of crutch there, which is basically, if someone types this, it's figuring out, well, the technology goes, I've picked up these 3 words. It's either this document, the answer to this question, or potentially this other document. And that's where we have seen that in chatbots, where it kind of pops up and it says, is it one of these 3 things that you're looking for? And then you're like, actually, yes, it is. And you click access, or you say no. And then you're better able to probably slightly search a bit better.
Yeah.
This is good thinking from my processing out loud, by the way.
Yeah, no, it is good, because I think people don't want to read through long resources of like 100 pages when they have one question they want answered. So it would be nice if they could ask the question and get it like exactly what they're looking for.
What about I'm thinking of, like, the Christmas, what are they called? Christmas countdown calendars. They have little chocolates in them and stuff.
Advent calendars.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you have one of them where it's like the box of like all the little windows that you can open, but I'm feeling like it's like the process of this particular topic is there like a little flow chart, and then you can like click on it, and then it's like, these are the questions you likely have at this part in the process. And it's answering the FAQs in a kind of dynamic way. The only challenge is that FAQs kind of always need to have like a one source of truth. So we don't want like 50 versions, or even 2 versions or 3 versions of the FAQs existing in the world. Can you ask your question again for me, please?
How might we distribute or present frequently asked questions to learners, or how might they access them?
I think there's an opportunity for a Q&A webinar there as well. Come with questions you might have. And then that's where like the person presenting the responses can say, hey, look, here is the FAQs, everyone. So you're just reinforcing the value of them. Because even if that someone says, oh, like, what would I do in this situation? They could literally like screen share. Like, well, actually, let me just do that using the FAQs to show that the answer's in there, rather than Because if, oh God, yeah, I'm thinking out loud. I'm kind of going into more detail because of people listening as well.
Yeah.
Because on a Q&A webinar, it's the same thing as what they're doing right now is they pick up the phone for help. But like there can be queues and there's not always access to the person on the other end of the phone. And you don't always need to talk to someone on the other end of the phone, but that's the easiest thing now. So that's why you pick up the phone. You don't actually look for the answer yourself in a document that it exists in. So when you pick up the phone, the person says, actually, you need to check the processes, and this is where the processes can be found. So you're being pointed back there anyway. So we don't want to train that same behavior through a webinar, which is basically, hey, I'm just a virtual, you're seeing me over the phone. So that's why we'd need to say, okay, if it's a Q&A webinar based on the FAQs, they're going to ask the question and they are going to find it in the FAQs by sharing their screen and then like demonstrating that this is where the information is. And if any question is not asked or not in the FAQs, they literally live update it. They're like, that's a good question. Actually, I'm putting it in the FAQs now because someone else is likely to have it. Here's the answer. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's just, again, a knowledge. This one doesn't need to be overcomplicated, but people need to know it exists. And it is presented in the easiest, most accessible way. And what I mean by that is like, go onto your intranet and it's on the homepage. It's not in a menu down 3 fucking, I was going to say flights of stairs, whatever you call them, like menu item things.
Yeah.
It's just like, you got this concern, like this topic, and you've got a question about it, click here, and it just opens it straight from the homepage.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
So that's a system thing or an environment thing. I think if we could do those things, bam, amazing, and so helpful.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. That's so helpful.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into Studio Insights. We hope you got some potential ideas for your training because it was cool to actually talk about some ideas. So hopefully that helps you with some of your projects if it's relevant.
And on that, I'm just going to say we demonstrated how we work as a team and like how freaking amazing we are. I just think we are anyway. So if you want to hire us and partner with us to work on your projects, we run brainstorming sessions and we help solve problems like this. So check out our website and engage us, because this is the exact thing we do for our clients and we can do it for you too. Back to you, Hannah.
Thank you for tuning in. That's all I had left to say.
What's up, awesome human? Thank you on behalf of myself and the Belvista Studios team for continuously choosing to learn with us. We really appreciate it. If the tips and the insights and the context resonate with you and you want to take your skills to the next level, or you want to make your life way easier, you will love our Creator Hub. The Creator Hub is a place for people like you and us. Basically, it's the stuff that we use internally at Belvista Studios and then we just share it publicly with you. The Creator Hub is created by instructional designers for instructional designers, and what you'll love there at the moment is we've got a quiz, Could I Be a Better Instructional Designer, that has so much tips in the feedback if you're interested in human-centered design or just taking your skills to the next level in terms of the solutions you're creating and the problems you want to solve. But in there as well, aren't we cute? That's us. But we've got the coaching courses, freebies, give us gratitude, and also we've got some templates. And basically they're always around the lens of learning experience design, instructional design, and e-learning. So a human-centered design focus is very much what we're about at Belvista Studios. So putting your learners at the heart of a solution and creating something for their needs. So there's the human-centered design stuff, and then we've also got the business stuff. So this is the stuff they don't teach you about when you want to become a freelancer or a consultant in the instructional design world. So go check it out. The link is in the description. You can check out everything that is available for you. Thank you for choosing to learn with us. Continuously invest in your skills. You will be rewarded as an instructional designer. Share this stuff, share it with other people, because when we are better instructional designers, we create better solutions that create better humans that create a better world. So we have a very important role, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you. Have an awesome day.